attendees and participants. Welcome to the August 8th meeting of the City of Tampa Variance Review Board. From my left, the members of the board are
Todd Foltz,
Sam Decker,
Brett Feldman,
Anna Walrath,
Aaron Murphy.
also in attendance this evening from Legal, Susan Johnson-Velez, from Development Coordination, Jane Madu and Mary Tavares, from Natural Resources, Stephen Eister, from Zoning, Laura Marley, Miguel Aguilar, Josh Heitman, and Lisa Middleton. There are some procedural rules that we need you to follow. When your case and petitioner's name are called, please approach the podium. When you approach the podium, please state your name, address, and confirm that you've been sworn. The petitioner or its agent will have 10 minutes to make a presentation, and all other persons or participants wishing to speak will have 3 minutes. Then the petitioner will have an additional 5 minutes for rebuttal if needed. The time periods as stated will be kept by the board. Any information such as pictures or plans that have not previously been submitted as part of the petition and that you intend to submit for consideration in support of your petition must be individually presented and accepted by the board. After acceptance by the board, you must submit the item to staff for it to be entered and made part of the permanent record. The board bases its decision on competent and substantial evidence which is submitted and which meets the criteria required by the city's code of ordinances. Please be sure to clearly state your hardship criteria during your presentation. A majority of the board is needed to approve your variance. The variance granted by the board will only be for what is shown on the site plan and will be in compliance with any terms or conditions stated by the board. All other city codes must be met. If the case is approved, your variance will expire 2 years from the date of decision. If your case is continued, it will either be continued to next month's VRB board agenda or to the next available position on an upcoming VRB board agenda. If your case is denied, you may wish to have the variance review board's decision appealed by the city council. You must file a petition for a review of the board's decision within 14 days of the board's written decision. You will not be able to pull any permits until the 14-day review period has passed. Your cooperation in ensuring that this meeting is run smoothly is greatly appreciated. Can I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the July VRB board meeting?
so moved.
All right, I have a motion, second. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? At this time, I will ask legal staff to confirm whether there are any ex parte communications or conflicts of interest.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, I would ask any of the board members if they have any conflicts of interest with respect to any matters on the agenda this evening. Seeing none, I would now ask if any. Oh, okay.
Very quickly. VRB 23-25 at 3010 South Esperanza Avenue. The applicant is a current client.
Okay. I'm not sure if that one's going this evening, but I will give you the form for that. So, okay,
Great,
thank you.
We might have a quorum issue if, so I don't know if it's a waive from poll conflict.
we can go forward with 4, can't we?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, never mind
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
Great, I did my math wrong.
Yep.
Okay,
All right, so at this time then I would ask if any board members have had any ex parte communications with anyone regarding any matter on the agenda this evening. Thank you, Madam Chair.
are there any changes to the agenda the staff wishes to make?
Good evening, Jane Amadi, Development Coordination. There are 2 cases that have requested continuance. VRB 2325 addressed at 3010 South Esperanza Avenue, and VRB 2353 addressed at 109 East 26th Avenue. And before the board makes a motion on the continuance, also wanted to issue a correction for the staff report on VRB 2356. The aerial that was provided was the wrong aerial, so just wanted to put that on the record.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and ask that we conduct the swearing in, and then we'll address continuing those 2 motions, or those 2 cases. At this time, Anyone who could foreseeably speak should go ahead and stand to be sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm that you will tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
All right. So at this time, does anyone in the audience wish to speak on the potential continuance of VRB 23-25 or VRB 23-53?
Board, Steve Michelini, I'm the representative for that petition. First, I'd like to
Can you
reach out
confirm that you've
to,
been sworn?
I have been sworn, to Jane and say Houston is an interesting place, and I've already reminded her that there's no zoning in Houston, so you can have high-rises right next to single-family houses and gas stations and all kinds of other things, and all she did was smile, so, which is her nature. But anyway, congratulations on your new position and best wishes to you. Board, approximately 3 years ago, this property received a variance to construct a single-family house, and the property was tied up in a divorce settlement, which ended up being sold to another party, thinking that the variance was in fact intact and it had expired. And to that degree, the easements that were associated with the previously released easements had to be released again. And so now we're faced with releasing the easements again. We've completed that with the staff, and in accordance with the rules of the VRB, we are requesting a continuance to October so that it can be heard. The easements can be reestablished by a hearing at the Tampa City Council, and then we can come back before you. But I thought you might want to have the background history as to why we're at this point. And it wasn't a frivolous request for a continuance that was, unrelated to a number of circumstances. The site plans have been corrected. The easements have been approved. The release of easements have been approved by the city staff, and then they're now being scheduled to be heard by city council.
All right, thank you. That's for VRB 23-25?
Yes, it is.
Okay, all right, thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak on continuance of VRB 23-25 or VRB 23-53? Seeing none, there a motion by the board to continue?
I'll go ahead and make a motion. What is the October hearing date? I move that VRB 23-25 for property located at 3010 South Esperanza Avenue be continued to the October 10th, 2023 VRB hearing at 5:30 p.m.
Motion by Mr. Feldman, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Walrath. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Nope.
Thank you very much, and salute and goodbye to our friend Jane. Wish you well.
All right, staff has also requested, or also noted that the applicant for VRB 23-53 would like a continuance. Sounds like just for 1 month, or to the next available.
It would be to the October hearing as well.
Just,
October.
sorry, Susan Johnson, was legal, so pursuant to your rules, any case that's continued by the board at the request of an applicant shall be continued for 2 months. So that's in your rules of procedure, so if it's an applicant requested, then it goes for 2 months.
Is that new?
It's not, but I don't know that we.
New to us?
I just wanted to make your.
All right.
Yeah,
All right, thank you.
okay, you're welcome.
Interesting. All right. Madam Chair, I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
I move that VRB 23-53 for property located at 109 East 26th Avenue be continued until the October 10th, 2023 Variance Review Board meeting at 5:30 p.m.
Motion, there is second.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Feldman, second by Ms. Walrath. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, that has been continued as well. All right, I think we are at VRB 23-43.
That is
Good evening, board and everyone here present. The first case before the board is VRB 2343. This is addressed at 2606 West Powhatan Avenue. This property is zoned residential, RS 50 residential single family. And the request is to reduce the side yard setback from 3 feet to 0.8 feet for an accessory structure. Code section in reference to section 27-291A, accessory structure setbacks are set at 60 feet for the front, 3 feet on the rear, 3 on the side, and 7 on the corner. This property, this case was presented before the board last month, and the applicant was requested to come back with additional evidence. This is an aerial showing the subject property. It's an interior lot in the USF planning district. This property has several code violations, work without permits, and it has been reviewed by staff, and Natural Resources had the comment. There is currently an open complaint for removal of trees without a permit. It looks like the case had an arborist uploaded, but it is still open. Contact code enforcement team to resolve the case. Right of way found consistent with no comments. Transportation found them consistent with no comments. And zoning found them inconsistent with the following comment. Zoning finds the request inconsistent with code. The structure has no allowance on the west side for eaves and gutters. There is no buffer between the neighbor's property, which has implications for privacy. Additionally, maintenance to that side of the structure without encroaching on the neighbor's property will be difficult. We received no letters of objection or support for this application. Once again, this is the site plan that the applicant has provided. We see the single family residence here, and to the south west portion of the property, you see the accessory structure in question. Staff provided no memos. If you have any question, I'll be available to answer.
All right, thank you. The applicant here this evening? Right. Doesn't appear that the applicant is here, so I think that the board can either move this case to the end of the agenda and see if the applicant arrives, or we can continue, or we can deny.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay. All right, can we have a motion to do that?
I'd like to make a motion that we move VRB 23-43 at 2606 West Powhatan Avenue be moved to the end of the board meeting to give the applicant more time to arrive.
Motion by Mr. Murphy, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Feldman. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Right. Then let's go ahead and go to 56.
All right. The next case before the board is VRB 2656. This property is 2807 West Morrison Avenue. It is zoned RS 75 residential single family. Property owner is Grace Puma Whiteford, trustee, and the variance request is to remove a grand tree for the purpose of the construction of a new single family residence. Code section in reference is section 27-284.2.5 that has the criteria for the approval for the removal of a grand tree. This is an interior lot in the South Tampa Planning District. It is also located in the Parkland Estate Overlay District. This is the proposed site plan that the applicant has provided. Tree in question is here in the, oh no, the tree in question is to the north of the property. The applicant also provided 2 alternative site plans showing reconfiguration in order to save the grand tree. This is the first alternative site plan that they showed in order to save the grand tree. And this is the second alternative site plan that they showed with reconfiguration to save the grand tree. This was reviewed by right-of-way and found consistent with no comments, reviewed by transportation and found consistent with no comments. Natural resources reviewed and found them inconsistent with technical standard and code, and the natural resources staff memo was uploaded in the staff report. Urban design reviewed and found them consistent with the following comment. Urban design has no issue with the proposed variance. We received no letters of objection or support for this variance request. These are pictures showing the tree in question. The board shall consider section 27-284.2.5 as the criteria for the approval or denial of a grand tree removal application. If you have any questions, Stephen Eister is available and will be able to take your questions.
Hey, Jane, this was the one where you said that it had an incorrect aerial.
Yes, real on this one.
Do you have a correct aerial that you could share with us?
Unfortunately, no, we do not have a corrected aerial that we
Okay.
can share at this point.
All right, thank you.
Right, is the applicant here? Right, if you could come up, state your name, address, and confirm that you've been sworn in.
Thank you. I apologize, I ran in. It's caught in traffic a little bit. Catherine Coyle, Urban Planning Innovations, representing Bayfair. 5302 West Swanee Avenue, Tampa, Florida 33603.
And you need to be sworn.
Yes.
And I think there was another gentleman who came in. If you need to be sworn in, go ahead and stand up and we can do the swearing in now.
No. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to and affirm that you would tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Again, I apologize. I've never been late to a hearing before. Okay, so I am here representing the applicants for this specific address, 2807 West Morrison Avenue. This specific application is related to a grand tree removal of a laurel oak, 34 inches. This is the subject tree. This picture was taken May 24th, 2023. As noted, this is a 34-inch laurel oak. The tree is approximately 66 years in age, and the city arborist, Mr. Stephen Eister, did agree and note in his July 17th, 2023 memorandum that the tree is 66 years old approximately. For the record, I do have this, and I will note it as well. According to the University of Florida IFAS extension, which are the preeminent for the USDA on all trees in the southeast, they do note in this horticulture publication, which they originally published in 1993, it was then updated in 2016 and then again in 2018. It's a regular publication. They keep updated for all trees in the southeast. This specific one is for Quercus laurifolia, which is the laurel oak. And as you may note, in uses and management in particular, it does note specifically that this tree does grow well as a street tree, serves the community well. It hollows with age at approximately 50 years of age. Laurel oaks have a lifespan of 50 to 70 years by study. So I'll enter that into the record. This is the original location from an aerial from 1957. You can see actually the location of the tree here when it was just tiny. And as I noted, Mr. Eister did note the age of 66 years. He further noted and cited the code application, the code sections that applied, and then his reconfiguration notes. Furthermore, we did have a condition rating in February of 2022 by David Riley. His ISE number, SO 1149. Mr. Riley did serve for this, as a city arborist for close to 30 years and is well known in the industry. He did note in his report from February that the tree is not preservation quality. He did rate it as a C8. The difference here, in particular in the scoring, if you wonder about a C8 versus a C9, it is literally in the point system that's on the back of the report, where you actually add up 4 points in each category. You automatically get 4 points as a target rating. If there is something that's habitable immediately around the tree, you automatically get 4. The second one was rated at 2 points because of the most likely failure was in a limb that was 6 to 18 inches. If there was a limb that was 18 inches or over, it would have gotten the extra point and been found hazardous automatically. With that, just for reference, this is actually a building permit as well. This originally went in a few months ago, has been reviewed. The building review itself was approved May 17th. Through that initial review, Natural Resources disapproved it April 27th and advised Bayfair to perform the public notice for an administrative removal. Bayfair actually performed that notice May 2nd. So Parkland Estates was initially notified that this 34-inch tree was hazardous, was going to be removed. They didn't receive any objections or comments from the neighborhood after that notice. And then following that, Natural Resources reversed the decision and disapproved the permit. So I'm just giving that for context. Now, finally, down to the grand tree removal itself, looking at reasonable reconfiguration. We did provide reasonable reconfiguration plans as required, the proposed location and layout of the plan with 2 alternatives. This particular location is unique in and of itself to the city. Parkland Estates itself is unique. It's noted in Mr. Eister's comments as well as our narrative for hardship. Parkland Estates has very strict requirements for setbacks. There are no variances allowed for these setbacks. So when you apply the reasonable reconfiguration criteria specifically under 27-156, table 4.2, note 7, that allows you to shift the house automatically if you have a grand tree on the property. In Parkland Estates, you cannot use that provision. It strictly prohibits moving the house around. You cannot reduce the front or side setbacks or rear setback through a variance or through any alternative means. That in and of itself makes it unique to the city. This is the original proposed. This is what's actually in the building permit. What we've shaded out for you here is the 30-foot required setback in the front for Parkland Estates. That cannot be altered. It is what it is. There are 7.5-foot side setbacks, which you probably will note is different than the rest of the city, where it's 5 and 7, depending on what location you are in the city. Parkland Estates has 7.5. We cannot shift that extra 1 foot into those yards. The off-site specimen, this particular live oak, is being preserved, and we've notched the building and done the canopy and root pruning plan for that, and that's been approved. We're stuck with this particular location because we cannot shift. So we tried. We looked at the alternative. If we could shift the house forward under the regular code, we could shift it forward here and get a little bit farther out and do some root pruning. Or if we shifted it to one side or the other, that additional 1 foot and forward, we could get away from the tree, probably enough to actually preserve it. However, we can't. There is no ability to actually alter that setback. Not even you can alter the setback, nor can City Council. So with that, I would also add the reasonable reconfiguration of the home itself. One of the criteria in the code, note 5, under 284.5, where it talks about the flow and function. Saving the tree is not supposed to alter or adversely impact the flow and function of the building or the residence. In this particular case, this is the 20-foot radius here. That's the canopy. You can see it was labeled as porch on the site plans. What this actually is an outdoor living and outdoor kitchen space. It is structurally walled in with 2 openings here. So it is not an open air porch. It is actually a walled in with 2 openings towards the rear. This is the second level where the canopy is in green, protective radius hits here. This is the roof plan. Again, as noted, the flow and function is not just adversely impacting the outdoor kitchen and living space and the home office, which is this. It also would require a full redesign of the roof trusses, which then impact the second floor layout. Because where the roof trusses hit, that's the home office, this is the porch. If you have a standard sloped roof over this outdoor living area, the home office is a peaked roof of the gable. If you shift this, it immediately impacts these windows. And then what you have in that case is a redesign. You have to start redesigning the flow and function of the second floor, which is opposite of what the code actually says. This is the back this is the back view with the two openings. This is the view of the home office from one side, and this is the location of the view from the east side. This is where the outdoor kitchen is. It's fully walled in because the other side of this has a gas outlet along with the outdoor kitchen that will be placed there. With that, based on the findings that we have, and again, back to the University of Florida IFAS report that shows that the lifespan is between 50 and 70 years, and we're dealing with a tree that is at 66 years. We're dealing with half a decade at most with any decent life left and then quick decline, which I believe Mr. Eister will actually attest to as well, based on my conversations with him. We see that it's with the hardships of not being able to move because of Parkland Estates and the lifespan that's left of this tree and the potential lifespan of the house being over 100 years, that we meet the hardship criteria and reasonable reconfiguration. There is no option for that. We respectfully request your approval, and I'm here for any questions.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this application? Seeing none, I will open it up for questions from the board.
I'll start. Question for legal. Just curious about the statement that we have no jurisdiction to make changes in Parkland Estates. Is that, does that sound accurate?
I know there are limitations. I haven't seen anything in the application that, that indicates what those limitations are. And I don't know that they were included in the application, but.
So I was on the board many moons ago when we went through this whole thing with the Parkland Act. And I don't believe that's true any longer. I could be wrong. But I do believe that there are some variances that have been granted in Parkland. I can't remember any specific ones, but I'd love to get the chance to research that or have staff research that before we say yay or nay.
I mean, I think if it's a basis for the applicant, then it would be the applicant that would have to bring forward those.
Well, when we're to assume that everything that she's presented to us is
Well,
an
so
agreement.
I don't know that it's necessarily going to make an impact on what we're doing for this application. And I am curious as to whether, if the discussion needs to go to this point, whether there are adjustments that could be made to try and save the tree. But if the answer is not readily available, it doesn't bother me that much.
I don't know if Mr. Eister can speak to.
I do have a question for Mr.
Okay.
Eister, and my question for Mr.
Yes.
Eister is simply, is there anything you wanted to add or talk about as to the statements that were referred to you for this petition?
So, Stephen Eister, Natural Resources, City of Tampa. I have been sworn in. I confirmed with Eric Cotton on the setback reductions, and because Parkland Estates specifically calls those out, if you guys look at my memo, that is the section right from the code, the minimum main structure setbacks per the amended act. And he said that's how it was interpreted, that they're kind of locked in to those. As far as the condition of the tree, it was rated by C8 by David Riley. The timeline Kathy presented is correct. It was approved, then got reversed. Another evaluation by a city arborist was done. It came back as a C7. That's why it's here today at the board. And our ratings are supposed to be a snapshot of the current condition of the tree. And the current condition to the city is the tree's a C7. If you look at my memo, I'm inconsistent due to basically it impacting an outdoor kitchen area. They have an indoor kitchen area, so to me, that's kind of how I was looking at it, an outdoor kitchen, then you have the indoor kitchen. The age, everything else is accurate, I checked it out. I confirmed it with the other aerials. The tree is about 66 years old, and the IFAS information is correct. That is what most arborists use to evaluate and look at trees and how we base a lot of our recommendations. So as far as that info goes, that is correct. I think that's it, unless you guys have any more questions.
I don't.
Not for you.
You have brothers?
No, for the applicant, but yeah. I can ask now? Okay, you say that it can't be redesigned in any way to make that adjustment. But, as Steve just pointed out, you've got an indoor kitchen and you've got an outdoor kitchen. And you have made that house take up the front setback, side setbacks, back setback. It is completely enclosing that available usage of that lot. Is that correct, my assumption, my understanding?
Actually, that's not the case. If you go,
Okay.
if you go to the rear,
Mm-hmm.
the setback in the rear is 51.9 feet, or
Okay,
51.7. So of course the house could shift to the rear. There's plenty of room in the back. However, it can't because the tree's in the back.
okay,
We're also faced, as I noted, we're faced with having to preserve this off-site tree as well, which hems in that corner. So we can't push it forward because of the setbacks that are required under Parkland Estates. Just for reference, I pulled it up. Specifically 27-242, paragraph F, setbacks, F setbacks 1. It says the front setback is 30 feet. However, a porch may be set back 20 feet from the front property line.
Yep.
Side, 7.5 feet. Rear per underlining zoning. That's where you can do a variance is in the rear. Corner per underlying zoning, that's where you can do a variance. Then it says, no variances are permitted to the front or side minimum setback requirements for the main dwelling or structure per the amended act. It's period. So you probably have done variances in the past in Parkland Estates, but for the rear and for the corner, not for the sides or the front. So in those locations where we'd be able to shift under 27-156, table 4.2 automatically, we can't because of our Parkland Estates. And we can't shift back, even though there's plenty of room to shift back. We can't shift back because that's where the tree is. So we are hemmed in by the rules and by the trees that are on the site.
that kitchen could turn 90 degrees, you've got plenty of room on the left side. Or is it because a pool is planned back there that you don't want to encroach on that?
This is a building permit. I have no plans for a pool that I can see. This is strictly the building permit that we're talking about. The specific, as you go through and look, as I mentioned, where this is located, this is within just a few feet of the trunk of the tree. There is no pruning available to actually change that. This also, as I mentioned, when you talk about the flow and function and it being a practical difficulty and the reasonable reconfiguration, when you look at the flow and function of the house, as I mentioned, once you start redesigning that outdoor living space, because it is structural, you start impacting the first floor with the home office, but then you also start impacting the second floor because of the roof structures.
Was the tree there when you started to design the house?
The tree's been there for 66 years. It has
Okay.
approximately 4 to 5 years left of,
Was the tree there when you started designing the house?
yes.
And you didn't think that might be something you should plan for?
I think you also have to take into account, and yes, they did, and they went through the process and originally told by the city that it was an administrative approval. That was the due diligence that they did. They understood that through the building permit process, and then the course was reversed, and that's why we're here. So Parkland Estates, like I mentioned, has been noticed once that it was administrative approval, no questions. We've noticed them again. We got one single question from a neighbor asking, which tree is it? Because they already thought the one in the rear was coming out.
I have a question. So let's assume that we could grant a variance for the front or the side. Based on the alternative site plans that you provided, it looks like the house would still encroach on the root zone. Am I looking at these correctly?
Yes, even if we could encroach in that 30 feet, you're still encroaching here. We'd have to do a fairly significant root pruning in that particular location.
Okay.
It would require an air spade and then a root pruning plan, but we'd still be encroaching.
I have a question for staff. As part of this, when they, if this variance was granted, they would remove the tree. Is there what's the penalty for that? Obviously, did they pay into the tree fund? Do they need to replace on site? What is they just get to take it away, that's it?
Yeah. So Stephen Eister again, I have been sworn in. The mitigation value is right there at the bottom of my memo, if you look in that little part about the tree in question. So the mitigation value of this tree is 8 type 1 trees at 2.5 inch that would have to go back on site or into the fund, or a combination of both.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions from the board? Seeing none, you have 5 minutes for rebuttal, should you need it.
At this point, I think all the questions have been answered. I cited the code, just to make that abundantly clear. I think the last thing that I would add is just the perspective of, on the proposed plan, you can also see, this is back to the comments about overbuilding the site essentially, or building it stem to stern, which we did note that the backyard is quite large. You'll note that there was a quick study of the houses in the area within the immediate blocks, looking at the year built, lot size, which is comparable, and then the air conditioned square footage. The homes in Parkland Estates are large. That's the reality. To build something comparable to fit the area is a house of this size. And we are trying to make it fit with off-site trees, live oaks, which are the predominant species that actually is preserved more often and readily preserved through natural resources, and taking into account a tree that honestly, even by your own city staff acknowledging, based on the University of Florida stats, has a half a decade left of decent life and then quick decline. Again, for the record, I will submit that report, and we respectfully request your approval.
Thank you. So I'm going to close the public hearing and open it up for a motion or discussion from the board.
As they say in Jerry Maguire, they had me at 66-year-old live oak, or 66-year-old laurel oak, excuse me. We know as a board that these things don't last that long and that they fall apart quickly. So I don't see a need to require all kinds of modifications for a tree that's at the very end of its lifespan. And I appreciate that there's some mitigation that comes with that, and we'll lose a 66-year-old laurel oak, but we'll get somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 new trees that'll grow up, hopefully, to take its place. So for me, that's all I need to hear.
You'll notice that all of those other homes that are large, none of them came up before us for a variance. They had the lot, they had the size, they planned in advance for the tree. Parkland is a very, very special neighborhood. The plat goes back to 1925, and the homeowners have gone to great lengths to preserve its charm. And I agree, some of the houses being built are rather large. That doesn't mean that all the homes in Parkland are large. There's still plenty ranch homes and, you know, some homes are just, have been there since 1925. And I'm sorry, I have a hard time with these requests to plop a standard home in a lot that can't accommodate it for whatever reason. And the setbacks in Parkland are very well known, that's not a secret. I realize it's a 66-year-old tree, but it could live another, 20, 30 years. We don't know for sure.
Yeah.
You and I could both drop dead tomorrow, but hey.
I'm hoping not. But if this were a different tree, I think I'd be having a similar discussion that you're having. I just see it as it is a tree that it is. And from that perspective, I'm okay with it.
It's still,
I hate taking down trees, but
well, especially one that's, has that much.
yeah, it's a beautiful looking tree.
It
really
is, it is lovely, and,
But it's gonna be, you've got a couple of years before those branches start coming down, even if we save the tree. I mean, and they're gonna build a house on this property, which is gonna be close to the tree, and that, no matter what you do, that's gonna impact this tree. And while I agree that, yeah, they can look at it and they can try and spare the tree, and I'm not necessarily buying into the argument that they can take a square or a rectangle and say, oh, look, it doesn't fit on the lot. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying this tree, 66-year-old
not
laurel
driven
oak.
around South Dakota.
Yeah, 66-year-old laurel oak. I don't see the need to force, to really force it on this one.
And, I mean, 2 years ago, I think that we would be having a different discussion.
Under the old code.
Yeah, but, for better or worse, we're sort of bound by these factors, and, I mean, one of the reasons I asked whether the sort of reduction of setbacks would even matter is because one of the factors we look at is whether the house could be reconfigured, taking into account the setbacks, and, anyway,
I can also appreciate the fact that they did begin with due diligence and did get approval to remove the tree, to go through the process of the design and everything, and then in the end be told, nope, we changed our minds, you got to go talk to the VRB now to take this tree out. It's a nice change for most people that go through all of the hard work and they put the house right on top of the tree and then they come ask for forgiveness.
fair point.
All right, well, I appreciate your perspective, but I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion. So I would move that variance request for case VRB 23-56 for property located at 2807 West Morrison Avenue be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for the removal of a grand tree based upon the petitioner meeting the burden of proof that the tree would be rendered hazardous by proposed construction that cannot be reasonably reconfigured when considering the factors set forth in section 27-284.2.5F of the city code for grand tree removal. Specifically, that the evidence provided in the record in this public hearing showed that we're looking at a 66-year-old laurel oak, which is by all measures nearing or at the end of its expected lifespan, that there is an off-site tree that needs to be preserved, and that the existing setbacks in Parkland and the off-site tree, as well as this 66-year-old laurel oak, create practical difficulties for construction, and that the tree cannot be preserved as a result.
I'll second.
Second. By Mr. Murphy. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? All those opposed? All right, your variance is approved 4-1. All right.
The next case before the board is VRB 2327. This is addressed at 3206 West Horton Road. Property owner is Jennifer Treese. Applicant is Timothy Jones. And the variance request is to reduce the front yard setback from 25 feet to 10 feet for the addition of a garage to a single-family residence. Code section in reference is section 27-156C that has the schedule of area, height, bulk and placement regulations for the RS60 zoning district as 25 feet in the front, 20 feet in the rear, and 7 feet on the sides. This is the subject property. It is an interior lot in the South Tampa Planning District. We have an aerial showing the surrounding zoning, and in the orange highlight, you see the subject property. This is the site plan that the applicant has provided, and this here is the addition to that existing single-family residence for a new garage. This application was previously granted a variance in 2019 for a reduction of the front yard setback to 16 feet from 25 feet. This is a section that the applicant has provided, not a section, a plan that the applicant has provided showing us the proposed addition, garage addition to the single-family residence. This is the common wall, and then this is the addition with the entrance into the garage. These are pictures showing the garage from the front and the view from the front of the house. This was reviewed by Transportation and found consistent with no comments. Right-of-way reviewed and found them consistent with no comments. Natural Resources reviewed and had the following comment. The project has been previously approved by the Building Department. Natural Resources under BLD 210483-567. The project shall meet all conditions outlined by the Building Department. We received no letters of support or objection for this variance request, and staff provided no memos. If you have any question, I will be available to answer them.
All right. Applicant, you have 10 minutes.
My name is Timothy Jones. I'm 5913 Interbay Boulevard, Florida, and I've been sworn in. I'm the contractor on this project, and as I can tell by some of your confused faces, we have a variance on this project. What happened? I will show, let's see if I can figure this out. The set of plans that I was presented with originally by the architect shows this garage, this two-car garage at 18'7", which if we know anything about garages, 18'7", when you pull two cars into 18'7", you can't open the doors. So my guys call me, say, boss, we got a problem. I come out, look at the slabs. Yep, that's not right. As we pull a scale out and scale the drawings, it's scaled out at 24 feet. If we look at our trusses here, they're spaced 24 inches on center as noted here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24 feet. Must be an error inside the plans. We add on to the slab. Can't get a hold of the architect, he's out of town. Build the garage, call for our building inspection. Building official comes out and says, this isn't built correctly. It's supposed to be 18'7", not 24 feet. And that's where we are. I put in a revision to get to 24 feet. The original variance was to a 16-foot setback in the front from 25 to 16. I didn't check my facts beforehand. We built it, and now I need to be set back to 10 feet. You saw the garage has already been built, finished, everything else. So I am throwing myself at the mercy of the variance board.
All right. Does that complete your presentation?
Yeah, I think that's all I can say, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I can also note that there's probably 7 other houses up and down the block that have a similar setback to this. I've walked up and down the street and measured different houses within a block and a half of this location, the same setbacks, at 10 feet or so.
Yeah. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this application? Seeing none, I will open it up for questions from the board. All right.
When, I'm assuming you had a surveyor involved in this situation?
I'm sorry?
A surveyor, someone told you where to pour a slab? Usually there's a form board tie-in before you pour concrete.
We didn't.
So someone would check the you
We
know,
did not have,
dimensions and
we
make
did
sure
not have
they're
a
within
surveyor,
setbacks?
we did not have our surveyor set our points, no.
Okay,
We measured off of the plans. Seeing as we have an existing house, we just measured off the house itself.
okay. Too bad.
Yeah.
So when was the original house built?
I do not know that. In the 80s, maybe? I'm not exactly, I didn't build the house originally. I did this addition on the back of the house and then this garage addition on the front.
Okay. So both of those additions are complete now?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. No issues with the rear setback or the rear addition, second story, no issues with any of that. Just the garage on the front.
And when were they done?
They were done, but the building permit's still open now. So they were completed 6 months ago.
Okay. Thank you.
So obviously, a variance was granted previously.
Correct.
Can you help us to understand what the hardships were in the granting of that variance so that we can tie to those hardships in what we're talking about here? What we can't do is say, oh, well, you made a mistake,
Right.
and tie our variance granting to that. We need to tie it to the hardship that existed, the reason why this needs to be there. So I think I know what they are, but I can't testify for you. Can you provide for us some of the information so that we can rely upon that to perhaps give you what you're asking for?
I will have to make an assumption because I didn't get the first variance granted. I assume from doing other variances is to allow for a mother and husband to get their children in and out of their cars, out of the weather, and grant them a garage space that the dwelling that's currently there would not allow another garage to be put anyplace else on the property except for on the front of the property.
Okay. Thanks.
Do you have any other drawings available of the house other than what's on here? It's just a,
No, ma'am.
I'm trying to understand how, I've heard your explanation.
Mm-hmm.
I just find it a little difficult to accept that no one during the process noticed that this was, you know, that's a pretty big difference in length.
The thought process between me and my super on the job was that there's no way someone would have designed this garage at 18'9" outside dimensions. You couldn't get two cars inside of it and usable. I guess if you had a sunroof or a convertible, you could get out of them, but otherwise you couldn't get out of the cars.
And there was actually an architect involved in this process?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I would not have designed it this way. Yes, ma'am. There's an architect involved.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
All right. So seeing no other questions, you have 5 minutes for rebuttal should you need them.
Like I said, there's other houses up and down the street that have a similar setback off of the street. There's, like I said, 2 of them within probably 3 houses of this particular house on Hawthorne. And without this variance process, if we go back to the original variance, they will end up with a garage that's not usable for 2 cars. So I would respectfully ask that you grant this variance so that way they can have a usable garage for their home.
Thank you. You can close the public hearing and open it up for discussion or a motion from someone on the board.
Those other houses on that street, did we give them a variance? Is that how they're able, I mean, I didn't go look at all the houses down the street. And if it's, you know, we have a porch setback, so maybe they're thinking that this garage aligns with the porch setback, which is a 10-foot difference?
Susan Johnson, Velez Legal. I don't know if staff has any information on other variances that may have been granted on the block, but typically you look at the property that's in question and look for
Understood.
unique hardships on that specific property without regard to any other properties in the neighborhood.
Yeah, I'm just curious why they would think that down the street has the same situation.
Well, consistent with the neighborhood, is something that we often consider, right? So is
We
it
don't know how those got there.
inconsistent?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
but
don't
we
know how
don't
those
have-
got there, if they were
Yes, you're right.
different standards,
You're
or
right.
if they were variances or what have you.
Right. They're grandfathered in, who knows what the story is, right?
Right.
Without some detail, sure.
I don't know, I'd need to have more information on this to figure out how such a huge mistake could have been made.
I mean, somebody's potentially, I mean, I don't want to give legal advice, but somebody's potentially got a claim against an architect.
Well, and that's the key. Is it really an architect, or is it a draftsperson, or is it, and there's a huge difference between, like I told you earlier, a licensed professional
Yeah.
versus,
That said, what's significant to me is we have a structure that now exists. And I haven't heard neighbors here complaining. I haven't seen anyone, any letters of objection. Obviously, we had an approved variance up to 16 feet. And the 10 feet, while a difference, I mean, they're building a garage, and a garage needs to be a certain size,
assuming you want to put 2 cars in it.
assuming you want a 2-car garage, which apparently this was designed to be, or a really big 1-car garage. So
Yes, yes indeed.
I could support it. You know, and realistically, and that's what I anticipated to hear, you know, where are you gonna put a garage but the front of the house, where you can pull the cars in? And we had an existing house, and so the practical difficulties of, you know, you don't wanna demolish the existing house, you wanna put a garage on the property, that is fairly consistent with the neighborhood.
I mean,
I could see it.
I will also note that while I don't think that we should set a precedent for correcting errors made by architects or, you know, other
Surveyors
yeah,
or
no,
contractors that didn't
whoever,
question.
The applicant here is, oh, actually, well, scratch what I was going to say, never mind.
Yeah, the owner
I
is
mean,
not.
arguably, the applicant here isn't the one who made the mistake, right? It was the architect or the draftsperson or whoever it
Well,
was.
yes,
So, no,
I'm
yes,
sorry.
it's a
No.
technicality and not
No,
a precedent
no,
that we
no.
want to set.
No,
Fair
if you
enough.
have a survey, you measure from the property line back. You don't measure from the existing house out. That's just not how it's done.
Yeah, I'm not focused on the oopsie that happened here apparently. I'm just focused on, you know, we have an applicant who, okay, let's say they're here seeking 25 to 10 to build a garage. They got it approved once at 25 to 16. And if the request was to build a garage, I understand what the hardship is. If they came before us today and said, we need to build a garage, and they said we need to go from 25 to 10, and they presented what they presented, I'd be okay with it.
I'd have more sympathy if I could see those drawings.
Yeah, well,
No, they're not there.
yeah, all we have are these.
All we have
Okay.
is that. Yep. Yep.
Right.
Yep, so if you want to make a motion, I'm probably not gonna support it, so. Well, just one vote.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
Let's say I don't know, the variance is granted to go to 16 feet, the difference between the 10-foot setback and a 6-foot setback, 16-foot back. It's significant, but they obviously allowed it to happen for a reason, and is it, the drawing here shows 11 feet. Are they asking for 10
It does,
feet?
I noticed that, yes.
So are we talking about a 5-foot difference, or are we talking about a 6-foot difference?
Or
In your
grant-
case, it's-
yeah.
Well,
And-
what was noticed?
Right, and is that the site plan that we're gonna use? So
Well, I mean,
it's tied to the site, I mean,
yeah, we go by what was noticed and what's the site plan, so, I mean, if we approve 25 to 10, first question is, was 25 to 10 notice?
Well, we're not really talking about a proposed site plan, we're talking about an existing structure.
Yeah.
So it could have been proposed site plan at 11, but it was actually built
Good point.
to the 10, so, you know, I think it probably should hold to the 10 instead of trying to adjust anything.
Well, the ultimate question remains, what was noticed?
They noticed for 10.
Okay, that's enough. I mean, they're not gonna knock it down, if it's an 11, they're not gonna knock it down and go to 10, so,
That's fine.
right, yeah.
Well, if they had only been off by a foot, that's a big difference than being off by,
Agreed.
5 or 6 feet.
yes.
All right, I move that the variance request for case VRB 23-27, located at 3206 West Hawthorne Road, be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing to reduce the front yard setback from 25 feet to 10 feet with an encroachment for eaves and gutters based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code, specifically that the applicant seeks an addition to the house for a garage, that there is no other practical place to place the garage, that in order to fit a 2-car garage, which is consistent with the neighborhood, the applicant requires the variance so requested. And again, that it appears, based upon testimony and having no controverted evidence, that a garage of this nature is consistent with the neighborhood.
Motion by Mr. Feldman, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Murphy. All those in favor say aye. Yeah. Those opposed?
I will say that this is the absolute quintessential example of a self-imposed hardship, just for the record.
Well, selfishly, I could create some litigation, but
Well,
yeah.
that's not,
Your variance is approved 4-1. Good night.
By the way, you guys did a great job. Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Next case, please.
The next case is VRB 2345. This is addressed at 476 Bosphorus Avenue. This is zoned RS60 residential single family. The property owner is Jeanette Jason Torres, and the applicant is Gary Tripp. The variance request is to reduce the south side yard setback from 7 feet to 5 feet, and this is in order to construct a 2-car garage addition to an existing home. Code section in reference is section 27-156C that has the setbacks for the RS60 zoning district as 25 feet in the front, 20 in the rear, and 7 on the sides. Oh, wrong. I apologize, that's the wrong aerial. But it is an interior lot in the Central Tampa Planning District. This is the site plan showing the property, and in the south end, we have that proposed addition to the existing single-family residence. This was reviewed by Natural Resources and found consistent with conditions with the following comments. The lot shall maintain 25% green space. Zoning Natural Resources finds the submitted request consistent with condition. At the time of construction, additional natural resources changes and requests can be made to ensure all other applicable sections of Chapter 27 of the City of Tampa Code and City of Tampa Tree and Landscape Technical Manual are met. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me at stevenister@tampa.gov.net. This was reviewed by Right of Way and found consistent with no comments. Transportation reviewed and found them consistent with no comments as well. This is an elevation that the applicant provided showing the proposed addition in the elevation. We received no letters of support or objection for this variance request from the public, and there were no staff memos provided. If you have any questions, I will be available to answer them.
Thank you. Is the applicant here? All right, please state your name, address, confirm that you've been sworn.
Gary Troop, 404 South Shorecrest Drive, Tampa, Florida.
And you've been sworn?
What was that?
And you've been sworn? You were sworn in?
Yes.
Jeanette
Jeanette Jason.
476 Bosphorus Avenue, and I've been sworn.
You have 10 minutes.
Okay, basically what we're trying to do is build a two-car garage on this existing home. And I have a floor plan here proposed.
Flip it.
Oh, shoot, can I turn it this way? Yeah. Okay, this is our garage, and our biggest thing, why we need that extra 2 feet, is because of staircase. We
Can you
wouldn't be-
shift
it
the
would-
site plan up just a little bit?
move it
Yeah.
way this way.
There's a button on top you can zoom out.
This is the front of the home.
Hey, Jane, would you mind helping them with that, please?
Maybe you can help me get it on here. Maybe I go back this way?
No, there's a Zoom.
Just zoom out a little bit.
Oh, zoom it.
It's technical.
Sorry.
There you go. Thanks.
You want to turn this way?
That might be better. Okay, this is the garage we're proposing. And what we're asking for is 2 foot on this side, the south setback. And if we tried to move it over to inbound this, it would affect the staircase and mess up the whole rest of the house. We have to confuse, So that's what we're requesting is 2-car garage. If you look at parking spaces, they're 9 foot apiece wide. And so you have 9, that's 18 feet. And then you have to have a return on either side to hold a garage door. So that's where you come up with the glorious number of 21 or 22 feet for the width of a garage. And so that's what we're asking to do is get 2 foot variance for this.
And so it's helpful if you can share with us some of the hardship, some of the reasons why,
Well, basically, she has no garage. When I first met her, she had gotten an architect to draw a plan in the rear of the house to do a detached garage, a single garage. And the problem with that is she was gonna have to back out. She had no space to do a turnabout because of her existing pool.
okay,
So that's basically the hardship.
okay. Does that complete your presentation?
Yeah, other than the neighborhood is beaming with all new homes with 2-car garages, and this house doesn't have one.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this application? Seeing none, I'm gonna open it up for questions from the board.
So the garage, the laundry, mudroom, and that bathroom, are any of those existing now?
No, I would be adding those to it.
So the end of the house exists where now on that
Would,
plan?
the end of the house right now exists, what do you call it? Right here. This line right here. It's the end of the
Okay.
house.
Okay,
So it's like 14 feet off the property line as it is now, as it sits. And so to get our 22 feet in there, we need that 2 additional feet.
okay. That makes sense, thank you.
Currently, there's a driveway down the left-hand side of the house, is that correct?
Yes,
It's a driveway to nowhere?
it just doesn't, it's not a driveway, it's just like a parking lot. Oh, on that side, yeah.
I see a paper.
Right, are there any other questions from the board? Right, seeing none, I'm going to open it up for, or you have 5 minutes for rebuttal should you need it.
Don't think I really need it.
Then we can close the public hearing and open it up for discussion or motion from the board. I'll, note that, I tend to support this variance. You know, it's a relatively small encroachment, and as Mr. Troop explained, you know, feasibly to fit two cars into this location requires the extra 2 feet. So,
I don't have a problem with it either, surprisingly.
would you like to make a motion?
No. No. I'll let Mr. Feldman.
Good.
Or, okay.
That's fine. All right. I move that the variance request for case VRB 23-45 for property located at 476 Bosphorus Avenue be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for reduction in the south side setback from 7 feet to 5 feet, based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty of considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in 27-80 of the city code, specifically that where the existing home sits to fit a 2-car garage, they would need to encroach into the 7-foot setback to make it 5 feet. 5 feet gives plenty of room for health, safety, and welfare. It also helps take some cars off of the road, which is always a difficult thing on Davis Islands. And there's no opposition from any neighbors.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Murphy, second by Mr. Feldman. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nope.
Thank
Your
you.
variance is granted 5-0.
Do you all want this, or? Yeah, okay.
Before you go on the next one, Ms. Velez, on the record, was scanning through this as fast as I could as I got in just at time. Mr. Herring is also a client currently, and we do business together. Obviously, we receive payment from him for other projects, which could be misconstrued as some sort of.
Well, do you believe you could be fair and impartial?
I do believe I could be fair and impartial,
Okay, I mean, it's,
as long as that doesn't preclude me, having it as a client. So,
I mean,
by standard, I can be fair and impartial, absolutely.
Do you have any pecuniary gain from this application or this
No,
project?
this is not my project.
Okay. All right, well, that representation. I
Just
think-
wanted to get it on the record.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Madu.
The next case before the board is VRB 23. The next case before the board is VRB 2349. This is addressed at 3409 West Dorchester Street, zoned RS60 residential single family. Property owner is Nicholas and Amanda Herring. The variance request before the board tonight is to reduce the side yard setback from 3 feet to 1 feet for pool equipment. Code section in reference is section 27-290.6 that has the setback for pool equipment as 11 feet on the corner, 3 on the side, and 3 in the rear. This is an aerial showing the subject property. It's an interior lot in the South Tampa Planning District, and we see it highlighted there with the orange dotted line. This is a site plan showing the proposed area of work. And here we see that setback of 1 foot, and that is the pool equipment right there on that drawing. This was reviewed by Natural Resources and found consistent with conditions, and they had the following comment. Zoning Natural Resources finds the submitted request consistent with conditions. At the time of construction, additional natural resources changes and requests can be made to ensure all other applicable sections of Chapter 27 of the City of Tampa Code and the City of Tampa Tree and Landscape Technical Manual are met. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me at stevenister@tampagov.net. We received 1 letter of objection for this request. This was uploaded with the staff report. We received no letters of support, and there were no staff memos included with this application. The applicant has provided us pictures showing that pool equipment as it currently exists and in relation to the setback. The board shall consider section 27-80 as the criteria for the approval or denial of a variance request. If you have any questions, I will be available to answer them.
Thank you. The applicant, just confirm your name, address, and confirm that you've been sworn in. You have 10 minutes.
Sure. Nick Herring, 3409 West Dorchester Street, Tampa, Florida, and I have been sworn in. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Appreciate you hearing my case tonight. I'm a Tampa native. Grew up here. I think I'm part of a dying breed when I make that statement. I moved away for college and moved further away to start my career, and came back at about 2004, and was very excited to purchase my 1955 home and renovate it slowly over time, my wife and I, to make it the home that we want to be in. You know, that 1955 home, while others would knock it down, so many in our neighborhood have done that. I considered it a fabric of Tampa, the city that I know and love. So over time, we renovated it to make it what we need for ourselves and for our 3 young daughters, and that included a pool. Jump through all the necessary hoops. You know, it's challenging to build a pool or anything these days, but we took it on regardless, and we submitted the site plan that you all saw. This is the unmarked up version, and that's pretty zoomed out, so I'll zoom that in. And this is exactly what was submitted, and you can see the existing sidewalk coming up. For reference, 3-foot wide concrete sidewalk. This is an existing air conditioner condenser that's been there as far as I can go back in Google Earth. And we drew this in here, this box, to represent a 3-foot by 6-foot concrete pad and the pool equipment. And that was the design that we proposed, and that was the design that was approved. And approved through progress inspections, many progress inspections as the pool was constructed, and then it was only flagged at the final inspection when we went for acceptance as being too close to the property line. And here we are today. As I mentioned, it's directly beside an existing AC condenser. You know, I put it there, I designed it there purposefully to work with the sidewalk, to consolidate all the equipment on the side of my home. And it's behind an opaque fence as well. And it's done. You saw the photographs. I've got them here, but I'll put them up again to just illustrate what we're talking about. And pardon the mess, I have 3 young kids, as I mentioned. Limited time. But you can see it was done intentionally and thoughtfully to consolidate equipment on the side of the house. And there are many, many opportunities for the city of Tampa to object at many levels, plan review and site inspections. And you know, it wasn't until all the work was said and done that suddenly this became a problem. I went through the notice requirements. I was not aware that there was one letter of objection. I received many phone calls, and as soon as I mentioned what the issue was, they couldn't care less. They couldn't get off the phone fast enough. My immediate neighbor that's beyond this fence, the home that you can see here, has no objection whatsoever to the location of that pool equipment. And the source of the hardship is the fact that if I have to move this, this is many tens of thousands of dollars of work that needs to get done, equipment that needs to get relocated, the power, the plumbing, all the way back to the pool, tearing up my backyard, repouring the concrete slab. Probably, I would estimate $35,000 worth of work, and I'm in the industry. So I'm speaking with some authority there. And it would compromise the design. You know, suddenly I've got equipment on both sides of my home. I can't store anything on one side or the other, and it's just a bit of a mess. We worked hard to create that backyard, and my wife and I have worked hard to make the home what we want instead of tearing it down. So that's why I'm in front of you tonight. That's the source of my hardship. That hardship is unique and singular. It's not in common with anyone else, our neighbors. It is not resulting from any of my actions. As I mentioned, it was approved and inspected many times with no issue. It does not affect the health, safety, or welfare of anyone else to be left in its current location. It's in harmony with the comprehensive plan, and substantial justice, speaking from my point of view, of course, would be granted, acknowledging a simple mistake and allowing it to remain, and preventing a real financial loss for myself, and ultimately compromise design that I have to live with and I plan to live with for a very long time in this house. And I would Just can't stand the thought of moving it, taking on the cost and putting it in a location that's simply just not ideal for myself, my wife, or our lifestyle. So that's my case. I'm here to answer any questions, and I appreciate you listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this application? Seeing none. Questions from the board?
You said the AC was pre-existing
That's right.
in that exact location?
Correct.
Is the AC also part of this issue? Are the AC allowed to be encroaching? Is there a setback for the AC, or does that not count?
Susan Johnson, Les Legal, I mean, if the AC has been there for as long as he can remember, maybe with the original house at that location, then it's probably non-conforming, but
Does it need to be grandfathered in? Wouldn't want, I mean, the city, you know, somebody made a mistake.
well, it is grandfathered, but if, you know, I mean, the setback would apply, I think, for the entire side.
So if we
So-
approve this, you're granting that,
Okay,
That's it, right.
perfect.
yeah. And it's approval to the site plan, so we're granting what's on the site plan, which includes the AC
And it's the
and the pool.
1 foot off of the side. Right.
Yeah.
This will be specifically for the pool equipment because the section for pool equipment, it specifically calls out the pool equipment. The AC unit has been there, so it's not under the purview of this application. It probably is just legal non-conforming.
Yeah, but what happens if he has to replace that equipment?
He'll need a variance for
Replaced
that.
it.
I'm sorry,
At some-
say that again, Jen?
I said if he needs to replace the AC equipment, he'll
Mhm.
need a variance to put it in the exact location because he doesn't have a variance for that.
I'm sure that's the existing AC. Never changed.
Yeah. So, if only they lasted that long.
Yeah, I know. All right. Oh, you said, I thought I heard this, just want to confirm, the neighbor that we're looking at in this photograph, who's most affected,
Contiguous.
impacted.
Yep.
They have no objection, you've spoken with them?
No issue.
Okay.
Does anybody, what was the objection? 'Cause I don't see any documentation.
There is a letter, but it doesn't show the address of the
It just
person
says
who objects.
they're concerned about the noise.
Well, and that's, to be fair, that's the basis, as I understand it, of why this rule exists, that it can't be that close because it can be noisy. But you've got an existing, as the applicant points out, you've got an existing AC unit, so.
So if he was to have to go in and do the hardship portion of it, which would tear out the sidewalk, put the sidewalk to the outside and flip the whole thing, is that gonna greatly reduce the noise?
No,
It's not gonna make any difference.
not gonna make it,
In fact, it might actually make it worse because it'll reflect off of his wall over the fence rather than. So I don't have any issue with this variance request at all. I don't see it.
Well,
we
we
are
need to
going
close
to.
and we need to.
All right, so you have 5 minutes for rebuttal should you need it.
You really want to give people
I
10, don't
know,
you?
yeah. I do.
No rebuttal. I think you've heard enough from me. Thank you.
All right, and I'm going to close the public hearing and open it up for a motion from the board.
I will move that variance request for case VRB 23-49 for property located at 3409 West Dorchester Street is granted depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for an encroachment reduction, setback reduction from 3 foot to 1 foot. Based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record at this public hearing and its unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria as set forth in section 27-80 of the city code, specifically that the equipment, it doesn't cause a hardship and it's a good place to put it. And it was approved, the hardship is it was approved by the city before he went to construction. He constructed the way it was and only upon final inspection, this is an undue hardship to put on, to try and make him move it at the end.
Well, if it's okay with you, I would also. If it was okay with you, I would also add that there would be practical difficulties to placing this equipment in a different location.
Agreed, yes.
Right, motion by Mr. Foltz. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Feldman. All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, your variance is granted 5-0.
Thank you so much.
All right, Ms. Nadeau, can you take us through 2352, please?
The next case is BRB 2352, addressed at 5223 North Himes Avenue. This is zoned OP Office Professional. The property owner is the Diocese of St. Petersburg, and the variance request is to reduce the corner yard setback from 25 feet to 15 feet for a detached shade structure. The code section in reference is section 27-156 that has the setbacks for the OP zoning district as 25 feet in the front, 20 feet on the rear, 25 in the corner, and 10 feet on the sides. Oh, I kind of switched them out. I apologize. This is a corner lot in the Central Tampa Planning District, and this is the campus for the St. Lawrence Catholic School. And here in the blue, we see the proposed shade structure. It has a corner setback of 15. This is shop drawings that they provided showing what the structure for that would, for the shade structure would be. This was reviewed by Natural Resources and found consistent with conditions. With the following comments, Natural Resources finds the submitted request consistent with conditions. At the time of construction, additional Natural Resources changes and requests can be made to ensure all other applicable sections of Chapter 27 of the City of Tampa Code and City of Tampa Tree and Landscape Technical Manual are met. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me at stevenister@tampagov.net. Right-of-way reviewed this and had no comments. Stormwater reviewed this and approved it with no comments as well. And this is a picture that the applicant provided showing us the subject area where the shade structure is supposed to go on the campus. We received no letters of objection or support for this request, and staff did not provide any memos. If you have any questions, staff will be available to answer them.
All right, the applicant could state your name, address, and confirm that you've been sworn.
My name is Shelton Barnes, 2312 Merrily Circle, Sefner.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir, are you?
Yes.
How are you related to Julie Cruz? Because I have her as the agent and the
Right.
applicant.
Okay.
you have a-
My office threw me into this at the last minute. Does that not work?
Shelton Barnes?
Shelton Barnes, yeah.
Pardon me?
He's on the affidavit.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't have any, okay.
All right, and just confirm that you've been sworn, please.
I have not.
Okay.
You can raise your right hand. Do you swear to and affirm that you would tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Now you have 10 minutes.
Okay, I'm sorry if I'm ill-prepared. I was thrown in this at the last minute, and it's not my project, and okay, so basically, we need to have the, we are installing a 34 by 27 hip shade at the place in question. Now, the space we're installing it in is 37 by 50, so that only gives us one orientation we can put the shade into there with. So we need the variance reduced from 25 to 15 to make room for the shade. And that is about it as far as I can tell.
Okay, so it's often helpful for us if you can, explain what is unique about this property, that, requires the shade to go in this.
Okay, well, it is a preschool. Now, we install commercial shades in playgrounds. Now, playgrounds can take a real beating from the Florida sun, I'm sure, as you know. Their lifespan can be drastically reduced, unless it's covered by some sort of shade. As well as being a preschool, with children playing outside, shade is very welcome on a hot sunny day, as I'm sure you know, but without the variance, the 15-foot variance, I mean, they wouldn't be able to put the shade in, and I guess that's the hardship.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this application? Seeing none. Questions from the board?
Does the playground currently exist?
There is existing equipment there, yeah.
Okay, so the playground is already there, we're just trying to add shade to
Correct, they
protect the
just want a
children?
big shade to
Okay,
cover everything,
Very
and
good.
provide shade for the children,
Gotcha.
so.
Any other questions? Seeing none, you have 5 minutes for rebuttal should you need it.
Okay, I don't think I will.
Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing and open it up for the motion from the board.
This one seems pretty easy. There's no neighbors, there's no effect. It's still off the road. You're protecting the children from the heat.
Yeah, we're not moving any, I mean, if there's equipment already there, we're not really, encroaching a whole lot more.
And it's open on the sides, it's a shade structure per plan, so.
Yeah, I
Sounds
mean,
like
you're
very
talking
good.
about a really big property too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, when you say it's not near neighbors, you've got Himes on one side, and it's just this giant property.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you could get less near a neighbor than it was.
Yeah, I'm curious if they even had to send notice to anyone.
Well, as long as, yeah, it's true, because of but they probably do, because it's for the property itself, so it's, but, you've got, I don't, traffic's not opposing it, so.
No, I mean,
don't
unless,
see a problem.
unless it was blocking the view of somebody pulling out onto the street.
But there's no outlet there,
There
right?
is
It's
none.
fenced,
Exactly.
so.
Can't get there from here.
All right, I feel like we've collectively made a motion.
Yeah, I'll just say, I'll go for it. I move that the variance request for case VRB 23-52 for property located at 5223 North Himes Avenue be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for a reduction of the corner yard setback from 25 feet to 15 feet for a detached shade structure based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty with considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in 27-80 of the city code, specifically that this is a very large piece of property, commercial for a preschool. There is existing equipment on the site that is a playground for young children that would benefit health-wise from the shade structure that's asking to be constructed. I don't see how this could possibly adversely affect the public or create any additional issues for health, safety, and wellness.
Second.
All right, motion by Mr. Murphy, second by Ms. Walrath. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Seeing none. Your variance is granted 5-0.
Okay, thank you.
All right. And Ms. Madhu, your last Tampa variance.
Yes, the applicant for VRB 2343 is available, and here we go.
All right.
So the last case before the board tonight is VRB 2343, address at 2606 West Powhatan Avenue. Property owner is Rodolfo Avalos, and this is on RS 50 residential single family. The request is to reduce the side yard setback from 3 feet to 0.8 feet for an accessory structure. And the code section for this is section 27-291A that has the setbacks for accessory structures at 60 feet from the front, 3 in the rear, 3 in the side, and 7 in the corner. Aerial showing the subject property, and it's right there in the orange highlight. Again, board is reminded of the site plan for this variance request with the accessory structure towards the rear of the property. This came before you last month, and he's here to provide additional evidence supporting his variance request.
All right, come on up. If you could just confirm your name, address, and that you've been sworn.
All right, my name is Rodolfo Avalos, 2606 West Powhatan Avenue. I came tonight for the variance, and then the last meeting,
You were sworn in?
yes, I swear, yeah, sorry. In the last hearing, you guys asking for the picture, and I get one picture before when it was open, 2000 and 2016, and I have the picture over here.
Can you show? So,
Oh, wait, there you go.
This is mine, this is the neighbor.
okay. And just sort of as a reminder, the request is to reduce the setback, and you explained to us last week or last month
Yes.
that you enclosed, this structure was open and you simply added walls, is that?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right, is there anything else you want to add to your presentation? I imagine we'll talk a little bit more during the
No,
Q&A.
only I leave in your hands, because this is all I can say. I say before, and the neighborhood, I bring the letter for the neighbor, he don't have any problem with that, because he has the same structure over there too, and I can say. It's only I can say.
Okay, so I'm going to see if there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this application. Seeing none, I imagine that the board is going to have some questions, just to sort of talk through some of the issues that we raised last month.
So I see the fence dividing what appears to be your house. Is it, you live on this property?
Yes,
So the yellow house on the left-hand side,
yes,
there's a fence down dividing this, almost making it a separate parcel?
no, it's not separate, it's all partial, but before I park in my trailer and everything, if you see in the picture, the black thing in, over here is my,
Upside down.
over here, if you see black thing, it's difficult because it's black and white, it's my trailer, I park my trailer over there. But this is only proposed I have it before this, with this, car porch, I park my car and my trailer over there.
Can you leave that picture up?
Go ahead. No, leave it on the,
Oh.
Because it looks like the fence kind of divides the property, right?
so
That's
in the,
question.
yeah, exactly, that's the.
So what is that structure on the right side there that we can see a little bit of?
In the right side over here?
I mean, no, the right side, the other
This
right
one?
side. Yeah.
This is a car porch too, for the neighbor.
Okay, is there a fence between them? I
Yeah,
can't-
it's one fence between.
Ah, okay. Thank you.
All right.
And can you just remind us when you purchased this property?
Yes, I purchased it in 2016.
Okay, and it would, that
Yes,
structure
yes.
was on there?
Yes.
Okay. Great. Okay. There are other questions from the board? Nope. All right, so I'm going to close the public hearing. I'm going to give you 5 minutes for rebuttal notes. Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing and open it up for a motion or discussion.
So recalling the testimony from last month, the fact that this was an existing structure that was simply enclosed, I think was fairly important for my view, at least, as to whether this was something that was approvable, whether this was something that was, and it appears, based upon the information that we now have, that has been confirmed, that this structure existed, that it was enclosed. The fact that there is a neighboring structure that is of nearly identical but unenclosed, I can certainly see why the neighbor has no objection. With that information in mind, and the fact that the issue of getting into that area to, I'm sorry?
So I know you asked staff, so if you pull this up on Google Earth or Google Maps, you do a street view of it, it gives you May of 2017, December 2019, March of 2022. That structure doesn't exist. There's 3 different photos clearly showing it not existing.
This is in metal because I put a roof. It's exactly to the next door when I bought it.
You need to
Yeah,
reopen
yeah.
the public hearing because
Sure, yeah, I think that makes sense. So I'm going to
Oh.
reopen the public hearing. Coming up, so, you know, I think that this is maybe a question for legal. You know, to what extent are we required to rely on testimony that's provided from the applicant as opposed to testimony that is readily available on something like a Google, like web search, that is otherwise not in the record?
well, generally you rely on information that's provided in the record at the hearing.
Right.
Right. So,
And so we have the documents that are in front of us that are in the staff report. We have testimony
Correct.
from
and I'm
the
not sure,
applicant.
there
but-
are additional pictures in here that maybe staff can explain what
So,
these are.
pictures that the code enforcement officer provided are in the record, they were included in the staff report that was sent out.
Okay, so are those the Google
Google
Earth images?
Those
So
are the
maybe
Google
that's
Earth
it.
images,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
So those were entered into the record
Yeah,
in
so
the staff
based on
report.
the March 2022 photos, it doesn't appear that there is, okay, so perhaps the applicant should,
Yeah, why don't we ask him?
yeah. Mr. Avalos, can you, Ms. Madhu, could you pull up that picture from the code enforcement officer?
This one?
We have one in our staff report that we'd like to ask you about.
Yeah, well, that's in the record as an issue, very, very first, right here. See that? No, review summary report.
Are you able to like zoom in?
Okay.
So in this picture that we see, there isn't a structure there. And this picture is from March of 2022.
There are also 2 trees shown.
Yeah, 2 pretty big
Those
trees.
existed.
I don't have nothing to say. It's just I give you in the hand. Because only I can say.
Well, I'm sorry, there is a notation on your staff report too that there's
Removal of
tree
trees.
removal without a permit,
Yeah.
a code complaint and a code case
Right.
that are both active, so.
But I mean, that's not before us right now, right?
No, but that's just information.
Oh, yeah,
Somebody
yeah,
made
just
mention that
explaining,
there were
yeah,
trees in
yeah,
the
yeah.
picture and
Got
that they're not there anymore, so.
And oops, they're gone.
Okay, so just to confirm, your testimony is that that structure has been on the property since 2016, and you haven't removed
Yes,
it?
it's in metal, not covered. No roof, no nothing. It's the same. I think that the man building it next door, building my one, but they don't finish. And I'm on cover. I put the cover, I leave it like this for a long time, and then this year for when I put the walls.
So you put the roof on it?
Yes. If you see the picture before, just you have all structure. When I put it in a survey, I put was removed because I have all structure behind this metal thing, but it's not covered up. I removed the inside part and put the cover for the metal part.
Okay, so the picture that we have doesn't show that there's a structure at all.
It's only the metals, no walls, no roof, no nothing, only metals.
Okay.
But, so even in the aerial view that we're looking at, and there is some tree blockage, but you can't see any structure. You see the neighboring structure. Ms. Badoo, would you put up the aerial that we have?
It's page,
It's at there it is. That's the one. So what we see in this aerial is we see the neighbor's metal structure. We see immediately adjacent to it, and you can see the shade of that tree going down, and I don't see anything else there. So
There's no roof. No roof before.
No roof.
Just only the old structure. I don't have the survey here. If you see the.
So the
Just the metal. The metal is a 2x2 all around, 2x2 with one piece like this. That's it. This is the reason you can see. This is only I can say. I cover that. I'm responsible for that. I cover that.
okay. So then I think that changes things a little bit because we were sort of under the impression that so was there a concrete footer? What was there concrete under the metal?
Behind in the floor, whole floor for the old structure house over there. If you check back in the 2016 or 2017, I have metal structure before, and somebody called for the code enforcement. Go over there. I see this is in bad condition. What's my idea? I tear down the old one and use the metal, cover the metal in the roof. This is a new one. This is the reason I make a survey. But the problem, I know anything about the code because if I put it 3 feet out, probably I don't have it coming here for the variance, but I don't know anything about the code.
Okay, so you did replace the structure, but in the exact same place?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Ms. Madhu, could you go back to the other, like just down the street just a little bit? Yeah.
This way?
Other way. Thank you. In this picture, can you see where the metal,
It's a little behind. It's a little behind because it start in the rear structure. All metal structure it was have over there.
okay.
If you check all back in the records, I have a code complaint because the old structures was there.
Okay. Okay. Are there any other questions from the board? All right. Then you have 5 minutes.
No, no.
No? Okay. I'm going to
Don't do
close the
nothing.
public hearing and open it up for board discussion.
With the evidence presented, I don't see any evidence that there was a structure there, therefore no hardship. So I have a very difficult time supporting this variance.
Yeah.
And also with knowing the illegal clearing of the trees, which is not before us, but there was an effort there. It appears to me that he's trying to put a secondary house and split the lot. But I have no evidence to that.
Okay, great. I like to go through the hardship criteria, right, and sort of ask myself whether the applicant has met any or all of them. And in this case, I don't think that there's anything that's unique. We haven't heard any testimony that there's anything that's particularly unique to this property or to a structure that's on there. It sounds like this, hardship was self-created. So I agree with you. I have a difficult time seeing how this, this is a hardship.
I find it rather ironic that it's okay for us to allow a variance for someone who majorly screwed up and built a garage too close to the street. Some very bad professional decisions, but obviously someone has more money, and this gentleman did the work himself. So we're letting a contractor and a supposed architect and a homeowner who has a lovely home be okay with leaving a garage that's 6 feet too far into their. Well, and then this one is
Well, can I point out one thing? Because I understand where you're coming from. I don't have a problem with the structure. In fact, he can build that structure there. The only thing he can't do is put it in zero, at a zero setback, as opposed to 3 feet setback. So he can,
Or even a 1
he
foot
can have this exact structure if it's shifted 2 feet or 3 feet to towards closer to the house, or if it's a couple of feet smaller, right? What we had in that other one, which frankly we're not really doing a comparison, and each property is, other than neighborhood consistency, each property is reviewed on its own grounds. But what we're looking at here is someone who's got no room for maintenance, no room for access, no room for any kind of service next to this very large structure that is immediately up against the property line.
Okay, so it's 0.8, which is still a very, very small number. It should not, we would never have allowed that to go through, but it's there now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
right.
in other words, if we deny this, he's got to tear it down.
Or he's got to
Okay.
move it.
Or he can come back with a more reasonable request to do, okay, I've got this thing I built in the wrong spot, can I go down to 1.5 feet, or can I go down to 2 feet rather than 3 feet? Or he can move the thing back and make it, a foot, 2 foot smaller, it's not ideal, but it's not impossible to move that wall in.
Yeah, and I mean, to me, the main issue and what I was looking for was we had a structure that existed, and hey, without being aware of codes, the applicant put walls on that structure, but
Well, he built it.
the evidence, well, that's the issue, is the evidence is showing us that structure didn't exist until very recently, and that I have trouble.
I get your drift. I
Yeah.
totally do. I don't think we're gonna see eye to eye on this one, so. why don't you
Yeah,
go ahead.
I mean, I would have been, had this structure existed when he purchased this property, I would be saying, hey, look, he came in and,
Was the slab there at that point? Was anything else there at that point? I'm
I
not,
mean, a
I'm
slab,
maybe, I'm
yeah.
not being facetious. I'm
No, I
asking.
understand, and a slab existing is helpful, but it doesn't mean that you get to put a structure up slap dab against the edge of the property,
Understood.
right? I mean,
So what I see existing on the pictures I've seen, there was a fence along that line.
yeah,
And so basically took the area with a fence and put a structure on top of it. Fences are allowed to be on the property line, buildings are not.
Of course.
yeah.
And frankly, my biggest problem is I don't feel like it's been totally forthright with us. And that's the big problem I have with
There
this.
could be a language barrier, yes.
Well, to me, again, either it existed or it didn't exist, right? And I mean, I understand okay, yeah, sure, there's a language barrier. That's not, I don't care. All that matters is, did it exist? And the evidence suggests that it didn't.
That it did not.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what resonates here.
That's a very valid point.
Right. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll go ahead and do it.
Do you need the language again?
I got it. I move that the variance request for case VRB 23-43 located at 2606 West Powhatan Avenue for a variance from a 3-foot setback to 0.8-foot setback be denied due to failure of the petitioner to meet its burden of proof to provide competent and substantial evidence in the record and the public hearing, and unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code, specifically that this hardship was caused by the petitioner, not by something previous, and therefore there's not a case of hardship.
Got a motion to deny by Mr. Foltz. Is there a second?
No, second.
Second by Mr. Feldman. All those in favor of denial, say aye. Those opposed, none. Okay, your variance is denied. You have 14 days to appeal to city council.
Okay. Okay, I have one question. If I put everything in the bottom and move it 3 feet,
You're
I can
fine.
keep it?
You're gold. Yeah.
Or I get the train and move it. That's the
Or,
only way
or
I-
just, yeah, you can shift the whole building 3 feet closer away from the property line, or you can,
As far, you need to verify that. I
Yeah.
believe that's correct. We believe
yeah,
that's
and you'll
correct,
need,
but
Check
please
with
you'll,
verify.
staff.
you'll need permit approvals when you're
Oh
done.
my God, yeah.
But ultimately,
Yes, I apply for permit, this is not the
Yeah.
problem, just I wanna make sure if I move it, I don't need it.
you will not need a variance. If you're 3 feet off the property line, you would not need a variance from us.
Alright,
You would still need, approval from the permitting department to do what you need to do.
yeah, I called in and behind 600 square feet, I can keep it, this is not problem with that. Alright, thank you. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
God bless you guys.
Have a good night.
All right, before we close the public hearing, we have some introductions.
Yes, hi. Good evening. My name is Laura Marley. I'm the zoning coordinator. Most of my staff is here. Stephen left. He's on our team too, and we have 2 other planners. So, as you know, Jane is leaving, and she's done a wonderful job. The last 2 years, I haven't had to come before you because Jane has been here. She's been dedicated to the BRB. She's never missed a meeting, so thank you very much for that. So I'm going to assume her role. We do have other planners on our team. One is Josh, and the other one is Leo. Leo's on vacation right now. So they're going to be doing some of the variants along with myself. Miguel is our planning tech, so he's going to help with some of the administrative things, and Lisa's also a planning tech, and she's going to back him up. So we are going to advertise for Jane's position. So when when the person gets hired, Josh and Leo will still be doing some of the variances so they can do public meetings. So that's pretty much what's happening. But thank you very much, Jane, for your dedication for this board. I appreciate it.
We're gonna miss you, Jane.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We're looking forward to working with you all.
Just to remind the board that we have scheduled for next month the workshop, and I believe that the agreement was that we're going to do this before the hearing. So confirming the time of 4:30 for the workshop?
September 12th?
Yes.
It's okay if you want to move that back. But if that date works for you, then we'll put some together. Susan and I will work together on some type of presentation. If that date doesn't work for you, we can try
Or
maybe
if they wanted to
October.
do it after the hearing, but.
Yeah, whichever you want to do.
Seems to be okay right now.
Okay.
September 12th.
So September 12th at 4:30? Yep, okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
All right, with that, I will close the public hearing.